Hello, my name is Chiara Giorgi, and I'm the Global Brand and Event Director for Seatrade Cruise. And I'm joined here today by Roger Blum, one of our ports and destinations ambassadors. So Roger, welcome.
Thank you, Chiara. It's great to be here, and it's great to see you. Even though it's only virtual, it's still wonderful to see you.
I know, I can't wait to see you in September. Can't come fast enough.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think Zoom has been an incredible tool during the last 16 months, but nothing comes close to replacing actually just seeing people, being together, talking, catching up. Um, nothing can compare. So I'm looking forward to
Absolutely.
seeing you too.
Yeah, same. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Where did you grow up, Roger?
Well, I grew up actually the same place I am now, Miami Beach, Florida. So I lived here since I guess I was 3 years old. Um, and that's pretty much the reason I started to notice the cruise ships.
As in
And
you could see them every day,
yeah,
coming in and out?
you'd see them coming and going. Obviously, they were a much smaller site than they are today, but I was fascinated by them from a very, very early age.
Did you get to go cruising when you were young or?
Yes, I did. My mom was a travel writer. So, because she was a travel writer, she would cruise and travel quite a bit. And I was fortunate enough that they would take me along every once in a while.
Nice. So then when did you get into the cruise industry yourself?
But I think you know this story, but let me share it with everybody. I grew up in Miami Beach, and I just thought cruise ships were so cool and what a fun summer job it would be. So when I was 15 years old, I started riding my bike to the port of Miami. Now, back in those days, security was a little bit different. I could ride onto the dock, I could leave my bike next to the crew gangway, go on board and meet all the department heads and ask for a job. And everyone kind of got to know me and they got used to telling me to get lost kid, as some 15-year-old kid showing up on a bicycle looking for a job. Um, but I was persistent. So to really make a long story short, and the statute of limitations is gone, so I can admit I lied about my age and I lied about my experience. So right after my 16th birthday, I said I was 18. The reality is I could have probably passed for 14, but I said I was 18. And I also said that I had a lot of experience in the bar. So I got hired as a bar waiter on Carnival's first ship, the Mardi Gras. Now, my age was one thing, but at the time, my experience in the bar was I knew the difference between red wine and white wine because they looked different. I did not know the difference between whiskey and vodka. Uh, but fortunately, I was really with a great group of people, and this is in the early days even of the Mardi Gras, and they all helped me along. And as much as it was a totally different world to be a crew member on a cruise ship compared to growing up in Miami Beach, I totally fell in love with it. So I went back and forth between school, college, and the ships in the bar. And eventually I was hired by a Greek company as shore excursion manager. Actually, excuse me, I'm a little out of order here. I was hired by a company that you may have heard of, Sitmar Cruises, as a junior purser. And they wanted somebody at the front desk who was fluent in English. So I did a couple of years with Sitmar and again back and forth to school on the Fair Sea and the Fair Wind, and then on a Greek ship in the Mediterranean, a shore excursion manager. And eventually that contract was over. I ended up back in Miami and continued my career. I was hired then by Carnival in the purser department, worked my way up through the purser department to chief purser, eventually hotel manager. I was ashore for many years as vice president responsible for many different areas. And it's just been in my blood. I love the industry. I love the people. I love the ships. I love the sea. I love everything about it. It's just a great industry.
One, I can imagine that you've seen it evolve a lot. So other than the lack of security in the ports, what else has really changed since you started out?
I know the whole world has evolved, but I think the cruise industry has been really evolved. There's a certain spirit that's still there, but early on, the cruise industry realized to expand, they had to really look at what their product was so that it would be something that people would want on vacation. So it wouldn't just be, and I don't want to downplay being at sea because I love it, but it had to be a lot more. And the cruise ships continue to evolve and to be more of a total vacation experience. And I've loved that evolution, and every step of the way for each of the cruise lines, the innovation in the industry and the ships is just unbelievable. And I'm still on Miami Beach. I still see the ships come and go. And of course, the old Mardi Gras is a wonderful memory, but the evolution from those days to what we see now on that, not just Carnival, but Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, MSC, the expedition market, cruising has just really just come a long way, not just in the ships, but also what the products, what it's offering, what happens in the destinations, as well as the market. People who take a cruise now really can be looking for all sorts of different experiences, whether it's spa, health, fitness, adventure, discovery, or nothing wrong with this, just plain fun and relaxation. There's just so much to offer, and it's just continually exciting.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So from working on board and then working ashore, what drove you to then start your company, Cruise and Port Advisors?
Well, I guess the next step really was getting off the ships and coming ashore. And I'll tell you, and Chiara, you've known a lot of people who have been at sea in your lifetime. It's not easy. If the life at sea is something you really love, making that transition isn't easy. So for me, it was a little easier. I stayed in the cruise industry. I stayed involved very much in everything that I was doing, but it's a big move. From getting dressed in the morning when I was on board, it was pretty easy to pick out which white shirt and which white pants I was going to put on for the day, to not going grocery shopping and not having traffic jams or all of those things. So it was a big adjustment. It took me a while, but eventually, of course, I did settle in, and I at least I had the opportunity to be at sea still a lot with training and all sorts of things. Then about 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to start my own business, which is Cruise and Port Advisors. And what I think that I bring to the table, I hope I bring to the table, is I still see everything through the eyes of the cruise industry and a cruise executive. So I have a very eclectic group of clients, destinations, shore excursions, a manning agent in China, technology companies, onboard revenue companies, all sorts of things. But I was fortunate in my time in the corporate offices that my responsibilities covered all of these areas. So I really understood them. And I knew what was important for the cruise lines. A lot of people may have ideas as far as, well, I know what's good. Well, cruise lines really have something that they're looking for. And it varies from one cruise line to another. So you really have to understand what each cruise line's market is, what they're looking for. And then you have to make sure that you have a product, whether it's a destination and how you handle people when they come ashore, or your shore excursion offerings that really cater to the needs, not just of the cruise industry, but of the specific cruise lines. And I do feel that I am able to help people with that. And it's been fun. And one reason I have an eclectic group of clients is I really still like dealing in all sorts of areas of the cruise industry, whether it's destinations or entertainment or technology. So it keeps my life interesting and keeps my life fun.
Well, that also probably stems from your time at sea, because you covered many different roles, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. As a hotel manager, or hotel director, you are involved in all aspects of anything that touches the guests. Now, if somebody were to come to me with different things about the engine room, I might understand what they're talking about, but I'm not so great at that. As far as the bridge, I've never been a navigator, although I will admit that I did used to love to spend time up there, and I just found it fascinating. But really the hotel and everything that touches the guests and the crew for that matter, because I was fortunate enough to spend a few years in the group quarters and move my way up through the ranks. So I also understand what's important for the crew, and that's very important. And I think the cruise lines definitely understand that happy crew means happy guests, and it all goes hand in hand.
As an ex-crew member, I completely agree. So, so for you, because you've been so involved on the ports and destination side of things, how have you seen the relationship between the cruise lines and the ports and destinations sort of evolve over time?
Well, there has been, as much as ships have evolved, so has that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
In the olden days, pretty much everything went through the port agent. And don't want to say that diminish the role of the port agent. The port agent is still vital. They are the representative of the cruise line in the destination. They are the eyes and the ears of the cruise line in the destination. But over the past, who knows how many years, the cruise lines have found it important to develop direct relationships in the destinations too. So the cruise lines really want to be able to speak to the port authorities, to the tourism people, to the governments, to the private sector, public sector, in all of these destinations directly. And in the past 16 months, of course, through the COVID era, the fact that the cruise lines already had those relationships has been very important, because so much of what's had to happen, whether it's port agreements and health agreements and protocols and all of these things that are going on, the cruise lines know who to speak to and are able to communicate directly. And again, I don't want to diminish the role of the port agent, because it's still vital, but the cruise lines also want to know who to speak to directly and go straight to the source. So the communication has been essential in the past 16 months, but it wasn't something all of a sudden. That relationship has been building over the years.
And so what do you see potentially changing, not only in the relationship, but in the ports and destinations themselves, and how they want to sort of handle cruise calls or tourists, or how they want to market themselves, whatever it may be? I feel like the past 16 months has really allowed everyone to take a step back and really think about what they want to see come up in the future. So
yeah, I think that's a great point. Obviously, the health and safety of the cruise guests, crew members, and the local residents are the top priority for everybody. If the health and safety of everybody involved isn't done well and really taken care of, nothing else matters. You can have a fun experience, but if people are worried about this, then it isn't. So the coordination and communication to make sure that everybody is on the same page, to ensure that, and I keep saying health and safety, but it's number one. That's something that hasn't been discussed as much between the two entities. Cruise lines themselves have worked hard on this for many, many years, and destinations, of course, have it in their interest to make sure everybody is safe. But the communication between the two and the coordination between the two is now at a new level. And hopefully, when we stop using the C word in our conversations, people will still have this front and center in mind. It will become just a normal part of daily life and daily business, just to make sure that sanitation and all of these protocols just become a way of life. So I think that's really good. But beyond that, let's go back 17, 18 months ago, when I was working with your team planning out a Seatrade Cruise Global of 2020, which of course things changed. Our initial agenda, we weren't talking about this as much. We were talking about sustainability. We were talking about crowd control and management. We were talking about innovation and new ideas. And none of that really mattered if we couldn't do it healthy and safely. Now, hopefully, the health and safety, we're doing well. And we have to get back to the basics again. One day, hopefully, that we not hopefully in the near future, we're going to again be talking about crowd management, sustainability, both with crowds and environmentally, and also product innovation. the cruise ships, as we started out talking about, have really innovated over the past many years. Destinations, some yes, some no. And there's so much more opportunities in the destinations. We've heard about authentic experiences, interactive, inclusive experiences, and that is what people want. When I first got into the business, let's move just to the shore excursion side for a second. The biggest selling point on a tour was if it was on an air-conditioned bus. That was a big thing. Yes, this tour is 4 hours on an air-conditioned bus. You're going to look out the window and you'll see the destination. People want to experience a destination. Doesn't mean they don't want to have air conditioning, but it's more important to really experience the destination. And destinations have an opportunity when we come to Seatrade or events like that to learn from each other and not necessarily do what another destination does. But when you hear what another destination does and you think, well, in my home, we've got such and such and such, and I never thought tourists would be interested. You kind of take it for granted. This is where we live. And you go, wow, we could do this in where we live. And it will offer memorable experiences to people that mean more than what they'll see out of a window. And there's just so much opportunity out there. And I think that's exciting. And once we can do this safely, which I'm totally confident we can, there's so much opportunity to do so much more in destinations to give just really memorable, great experiences to all the visitors.
Yeah, well, I even just think from a technology perspective, right? We've all come so far in the past year and a half in not only feeling comfortable on Zoom, right, all day long, but comfortable with scanning QR codes and, little things that I know, at least for us running Seatrade, we tried introducing QR codes a couple of years ago, and it didn't really have an uptake. Whereas I feel like now that's just part of our lives, I guess, to scan those QR codes. So,
well, and touchless is a big thing that everyone's talking about now, and besides for the health and safety of the touchless, it's just far more efficient. Things can just happen quicker. Those delays of standing in line, waiting around in crowds, whatever, things can just be so much more efficient. And that also helps as far as the discussion, as far as just how you move people around. It just can be so much more efficient. And people are grasping onto technology a lot more now. And there's just so much more out there just to make our lives easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at the future and what's in store, how do you hope to be involved in all of it?
Well, as I started out saying, I do understand the ship part, the cruise ship part. I understand the processes on a ship. I understand how the flow on the ship, and I understand how decisions are made in corporate offices, what they're looking for. And I do feel that there's more need and more opportunity to still bring those two sides together, to offer better experiences, and also to help people's businesses. These technology companies, obviously, there's opportunities there in the destinations, helping them to really offer more seamless experiences. So people, instead of trying to figure out what to do, will really have a chance that if a ship's in port for 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever, to really maximize it. And, let's keep in mind too, that for the destinations, these visitors are bringing in money. So the more opportunity they have and the more reason they have to spend more time off the vessel, the more money they're going to leave in the destination. So that's good for the economy. That's good for people working. That's just good for everything. So all of these efficiencies will help. And the worst thing I think that can happen when a ship comes into port, if people get off the ship, go take a 3-hour tour and come back and sit on the ship for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. And the ships are wonderful. It's a great it's a great thing to do, but there's so many more opportunities for people to go maybe take their morning tour and then find something else to do in the afternoon, take another tour. There's just so much more in all of these destinations that I think people miss out on. And I think that I can help destinations really understand, well, what else can we do? Let's get people out here for another few hours. Let them experience something else. Let them do something else. There's so much to offer.
Well, I mean, I know that for us at this year's Seatrade Cruise Global, the one in September, and yeah, so September 27th to 30th, the theme actually for the conference is the future of, right? Because I think we are now in a position where, as much as we will need to talk about the C word, we want to start pivoting and looking at the future and understanding, you know, what does that look like throughout the entire industry. So, I mean, for you, I know that you're always there and involved with our programming. What are you most excited for?
Well, just a couple days ago, I had a call with some of my colleagues, as well as with your staff as far as planning the conference program. We can't ignore the C word. We've learned a lot in the last 16 months, and everybody really wants to share the knowledge they've learned, the experience they've learned. So we will definitely discuss the restart of cruising from a shipboard side, from a destination side, but then get beyond that, as you said. Part of it is the restart, and then where do we take it from there? We have so many opportunities to use what we learned in the past 16, 17 months, as well as a chance that we've all had to look internally to see, hey, what else can we offer? What do we have here? And let's put it together. The cruise industry, even though the ships have been on pause, they've been working hard. It's not that they're only planning the itineraries for when they are able to sail again. They're still working 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years out as far as what they want to do, and that hasn't stopped. We may have lost a little bit of time, but the cruise industry is still growing. Ships are still coming. The market is still expanding. All of this is still happening. So all of the need for new destinations and upgraded destinations it is no less important today than it was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we've got to get back on track and really take a look at these things. And it really depends on the experience. People aren't going to take a cruise and visit a destination just because they know it's going to be healthy. They want to experience a destination. They want to have a good time. They want to do things they can't do at home and have it delivered in a really great way. And the cruise industry is, I'm sure everybody who is watching knows that it's been fascinating with the growth. It's everywhere from the 100-passenger expedition vessels up to the 6,000-passenger mega vessels. So there's so much opportunity. I think I did and I should have kind of done the math again before we got on the call, but with the ships that are coming on, that translates into tens of thousands of additional port calls. And those port calls can be in the marquee ports, or it can be in places where you're coming ashore on a Zodiac, and all of that in between. And each of those really needs attention. Even that port with the Zodiac, people still might need a bathroom. There's still things in the wilderness that are still going to be required. And of course, for the new mega ships that are being built, nobody wants to stand in line. And the idea is to find ways to disperse those people so that they can all have a great experience. Mm-hmm. I think one thing that has not worked in the past, and the cruise line seems to get blamed for it, no matter how many people might come into destinations by trains and buses and everything else, is that the tours are kind of done at the same time. So by 10:30 in the morning, it seems like everybody's standing in the same square looking at the same church. That doesn't have to happen. It just takes coordination between the tour operators, the cruise ships, everybody else. You're not going to be able to help what people do flowing off the trains or the buses into the destination. But the cruise ships actually have a better opportunity to work with people to disperse crowds and avoid having everybody at the same place at the same time. From what I've seen the cruise lines have been more than happy to talk to destinations and work with destinations to find ways to avoid that type of crowd and to disperse people so that everybody gets to have a great experience. So I think that there's a lot more opportunity also in the future to do a better job in crowd control and just crowd management.
Absolutely. And if anything, I think that the last 16 months and sort of the pause in operations has allowed everyone to have that moment to think about those things, to think forward. So I'm excited for those conversations to happen in September, and I'm excited to see everyone again, and to feel the beautiful energy that comes from this industry. So
Yeah, and I think with Seatrade, and I've been going to Seatrade since the early days at the Fontainebleau. There's so much more to it than what you put in your program. Obviously, you come up with a really fantastic conference schedule, and I know at the last Seatrade, my big issue was there was so many conferences I wanted to go to that there was just so much that I wished that there was a way that I could watch it afterwards. And I have a feeling that that problem might be solved. Another good thing that's come out of COVID, because I couldn't do everything. The trade show was just so much, but even more than that, it was just seeing people and talking to people. Whereas now I can say, okay, Chiara, let's do a Zoom call at 10 o'clock, whatever. But at Seatrade, there's so many people from so many different parts of the industry that you just bump into, and whether it's a 5-minute casual conversation, you come away from those few days knowing and understanding so much more about really what's going on, that's just so valuable. And I really just look forward to all of those interactions. And it's great to see people as friends. I miss people, but you just get so much out of it, and I'm really looking forward to that.
No, and you are absolutely right, Roger. This year, because of the C word and travel restrictions, we are allowing people to take part in the event virtually, which means that we are streaming all of the conference sessions live, which means that we are recording all the conference sessions, which means that they will then be available to watch on demand after the event, which we are excited about because we've never done that before. So even us as the organizers have never been able to watch all of our conference sessions. So yes, you'll be able to catch up on all the ones you missed.
That's great. And it'll be fun to actually see everybody, meet with people. And this is probably more than everyone needs to know, but the last 16, 17 months, I've had so many different meetings, but I haven't worn pants. So now, don't worry, I'm not sitting here with nothing on. I have shorts on. I'm in Miami, but I'll actually have long pants on and shoes. I'm barefoot. So I'll actually, get back to the olden days of not just putting on a shirt and making sure my hair is combed, what's left of it.
It will actually be nice to see a person in full and not just the face and shoulders.
I would show whoever's watching my legs, but yeah, that's probably going a little bit further than we need to go on this.
I think that's good. We'll see them in September.
They're going to be covered in pants. I'm going to wear long pants for you guys.
All right, fine.
It's everyone's loss. Sorry.
Well, Roger, thank you so much for joining me today and for filling us all in on, your life and your story and how you got into the industry and how you've really helped a lot of different ports and destinations and suppliers along the way. And so again, thank you so much for being one of our ambassadors. We're really excited to have you on board.
Well, Chiara, I'd also like to thank you and really the whole Seatrade team through the years. I've really enjoyed my interaction with you, your teams. I've really enjoyed participating in all of the Seatrades, whether as a speaker, a panelist, or a moderator. It's been fun. It's been enlightening. It's been just a great experience, and I'm also honored that you've named me one of your ambassadors. So I really look forward to taking that to the next level. And I know that some of my fellow ambassadors, I know them very well. I'm colleagues with them in an organization that we're part of. So it's going to be it's a great team that you have on your end, and the outside people like us ambassadors. And I think not only is the cruise industry going to the next level, Seatrade is too. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun, and I can't wait to get the show back on the road.
Yeah, same here. Can't wait to see everybody. All
Well,
right. Thanks so much, Roger.
thank you too, Chiara. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.